let's start with Giant's Amulet, which is
Yeah.
one of the yeah, it's an equipment.
Let's start with the cheapest card, a 5 mana 4/5 giant. You mean?
Yeah, I was going to say this is one you're probably never going to play for 1 blue mana, right? I don't see it.
There might be some creature that just is invincible when it gets hexproof, and maybe you want to play it then. But I
Right.
don't remember seeing anything like that.
No, maybe if you have a busted rare that you want to stay on the battlefield or something, or maybe you have a 3/6 cat that you don't want to have removed.
I would still play the giant first, and then.
Yeah, yeah. Equip 2 is definitely nice, GS. It's one of the cheaper equip costs I think we've seen in this cycle, which is good.
And we know that hexproof is just insane.
Yeah, for sure. It also creates a 4/4 blue giant wizard, which has definitely types in this deck, as we will see when we go over this color pair, right?
Yes.
Types are definitely relevant. Invasion of the Giants. It's the blue-red saga. It costs 1 blue and 1 red mana, so 2 mana in total. It has 3 chapters as well. The first chapter says a steady scry 2. Second chapter, draw a card. Then you may even better. Then you may reveal a giant card from your hand. When you do, Invasion of the Giants deals 2 damage to target opponent or planeswalker, which is quite a bummer, I think.
But it's better. You don't want that chip damage really, but if you can get it for free, then why not?
Right, but it's not as good as you might have hoped. I would have loved it if this just shocked the creature, right? Then the card would have been the same.
It would be much better.
Yeah. Chapter 3. The next giant spell you cast this turn costs 2 less to cast, so cheaper giants, which is relevant. I mean, you could.
Yeah, I think that it's a good because you get it at around turn 5. You can play a 2 mana or a 3 mana giant, and then you have still 2 mana for something else, for keeping up a frostbite, for instance, or keeping up the squash, for instance. Squash is going to be like, I think that double spelling Bergstrider and squash on turn 5 with this saga, if you play it on turn 2, is going to be quite a devastating turnaround for the.
Yeah, for real. Squash being 3 mana less because you have the Bergstrider. Bergstrider being 2 mana less because you have the chapter.
So you get 5 mana for free, basically.
yeah, that is definitely some value. Agreed. Next uncommon is Agar, the Freezing Flame. 3 mana, 1 colorless, 1 blue, 1 red. It's a giant wizard, so again, types. It's a 3/3. And interesting text line here. Whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess damage, if a giant wizard or spell you control dealt damage to it this turn, draw a card.
Yeah.
And I think most of the time it will be Squash that's dealing excess damage, right?
Yeah, but your 4/4 giants also are going to be chump blocked at certain stage, and then they do deal excess damage as well. So it's not only, of course, Squash is the easiest. It can also change how you play Frostbites. You can play Frostbites on the X1s, just to get the extra cantrip. There is the 4 damage red spell as well. I just didn't put it because I didn't have space for it, and I wanted to showcase it's much stronger than the other things. But in my head, I thought that this skeleton needs some super early removal. That's why I have 2 Frostbites and bind the monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is good with giant though. I mean, it's great. I mean, it's the best red removal. I just wanted to showcase how I want to build the skeleton. It's basically, this deck is super weak to early aggro, and you want to have something to deal with early aggro, and the 4 damage spell is just sort of mid-rangey. It will be great there if you don't get your squashes.
Yeah, you will definitely play it, but it's not.
Also, a small thing is that the Basalt Ravager is also a giant that can deal damage directly when you play it. It's a sort of giant Flame Tongue Kavu, and it can also deal excess damage if you target well. So you can also draw a card on the entrance. So it's going to be a Flame Tongue Kavu with.
Yep, I read something regarding Trample and this ability.
I don't even want to know. It's so convoluted, all those things.
Yeah,
now imagine
and I think
this trample and the thing that doubles damage that giants deal, and then you just like are in some kind of level 3 judge exam.
Yeah, I think how I remember it is that if you have a creature that tramples over, you're not dealing excess damage, because you're only dealing the exact amount to the creature that you're dealing damage. Yeah. Now you're going to.
You can choose to deal excess damage to the creature. No, is it?
Yeah,
Isn't it that you can choose to deal 4 damage and then you deal excess, but only 1 damage will trample if you have a 5/5, let's say.
Yeah, I think that was the case, but I'm not 100% sure here. So maybe in chat can. Oh yeah. Ghash is on point here with you. He also says that you can assign it differently. You have to mention that very clearly, though, actually, in Paper Magic. Yeah.
Like so also in Arena, default thing is that it auto assigns the combat damage. So you might want to change the settings for that if you have Agar in your deck, because it will automatically do something that you don't draw a card.
Yeah, fully agree. You might have to actually put auto control on here to actually draw the card. Yeah, interesting. I think support can expect some tickets regarding that for sure. I see you include the Bloodline Pretender here, so that's another uncommon. Yes. It's the Shapeshifter that we mentioned earlier in the Elf deck. It's a Bloodline Pretender. It's an artifact creature shapeshifter. It costs 3 generic mana. It's a 2/2 changeling. When it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type, and whenever another creature of the chosen type enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Bloodline Pretender.
So this is the solution to the thing that we mentioned in the pre-stream talk. There's just not that many giants.
Right.
And this is a giant for 3 mana.
Yeah.
With some extra trinket ability, it can become a slightly bigger one. I guess that, if you have a couple of giants in your hand, when you play it early, because the good part of it is that with elves, you're going to play quite a lot of elves early, and then you play this one, and maybe you don't have elves to play after that. While with this one, this is going to be most likely the first giant you play. Then you play, each giant you play will make it bigger, so it actually can become a decent blocker, maybe later an attacker. But importantly, it gives you all the bonuses for squash. With Invasion of the Giants, you can play it for 1 mana, which is great, and then you can double spell with another giant, and you can make it instantly a 3/3.
Yep.
So there's some small synergies. I don't know if it's excellent, but it's a cheap giant.
Agree.
Same as the other changeling, the 1/4 is also a giant. Oh wait, actually there is 1 Demon Bolt in Ghash. There is 1 Demon Bolt in this deck.
Yeah.
That's the 4 mana 4 damage spell. Yeah.
The Agar was in front of it when we were talking about it.
Yeah.
But there's definitely one here. Yeah. Boom. Yeah, boom indeed.
That's exactly what it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Mistwalker also being here. As a giant, I fully get that. Yeah. Setrox message.
Compulsory.
Setrox was referring to the Graven Hulk.
Yeah, the problem with it is it's not a great blocker. You're right.
It is. It's definitely not a great blocker. No.
But 2 of them are amazing blockers.
2 of them are less cowardly, more heroic, I would say. Definitely. Again, 2 of the Ravens here. Very little synergy with what's going on here, but again, just a good include, right? That's why you probably have it here.
Card
yeah, it's a great card.
It would be better if they were giant ravens, but no.
You mentioned Basalt Ravager. It deals.
It's another giant and a wizard.
Yeah, it's a 4 mana giant wizard, 3 colorless, 1 red. It's a 4/2, and when it enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to any target, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common. So again, in blue-red, most likely going to be a wizard or giant there.
Yeah, I think that the not nice thing about it is that probably it's not a 4-turn play.
No.
Unless you play the Agar or one of the changelings, it will probably be just a pink for 1 on turn 4, which is maybe not strong enough. So you might keep it to turn 7, and then you can kill something more substantial.
Let's say you play the Harbinger on 2, Mistwalker or the Pretender on 3, and then you resolve the Ravager on 4. That's 3 damage.
Yeah, and then you can do wizards. Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite nice.
Yeah, if you have a creature on board, it will most of the time in this deck deal 2 damage.
2 damage, right?
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Fine. Like the wizard in Zendikar was a 2/2, right? So the stat line
Thundering Spark Mage.
Yeah, stat line was worse, and then it counted party members. It was most of the times that I cast it was like 2 or 3. Which isn't much better than this. I think that card was actually worse than this one.
Well, it could deal. It was great. And this thing will be great. The
Right.
One thing that is notable is that this is not an optional ability, so just don't play it on an empty board because you're gonna kill one of your things.
No, Giash mentioned that you can have it go to face as well.
Is it?
Deals X damage to any targets. So yeah, it's miles better than Spark
better
Mage.
Than I thought. Yeah, no, it's amazing.
This is very good. So if you thought Spark Mage was good, then this is excellent.
I just assumed that it doesn't do those things because in my boomer days, cards never did those. We didn't have that luxury of choice.
But they do. I think this is this card is a Ravager. Yeah, bad pun. Yeah. Okay, Behold the Multiverse. Here, the Craven Hulk we shortly discussed.
It's a giant.
One of the few giants, but indeed, unfortunately, that it can block alone. There is the rare that you included. I think fitting, it's the Izzet Saga, Battle of Frost and Fire. It's a 5 mana saga, 3 colorless, 1 blue, 1 red. It has 3 chapters again. First chapter, immediately very good I think, and it will deal 4 damage to each non-giant creature and each planeswalker. So that is, your giants will stay alive and your shapeshifters will stay alive, and so will those of the opponent.
Now, it's a shame that this one is not an instant sorcery wizard, because that would be great with Agar.
That would be great. You mean with the excess damage drawing you 4 cards or something? Yeah, that would be sick. Chapter 2, Scry 3. Very nice. Chapter 3, whenever you cast a spell with converted mana cost 5 or greater this turn, draw 2 cards, then discard a card.
Yeah.
Very nice.
They had to put the discard clause for no reason. So I don't have that many 5-cost cards in this deck, but hopefully you set it up.
Right. And
even if you don't set it up initially, the Scry 3 might help to get there, where you can get your Squash or your Bergstrider.
I think you can't go much higher than 4 5-drops, right? 6 with including the Battle of Frost and Fire. So I think.
I still don't know. Maybe 2 Bergstriders are better than putting the Frostfire Arcanist, but yeah, I mean, this is something that you.
Yeah, Frostfire Arcanist is the next uncommon on the list, so we can talk about it. It's a giant wizard again, 5 mana for generic, 1 blue. It's a 2/5. It costs 1 less to cast if you control a giant or a wizard. So at that point, it's a 4 mana 2/5, which is a pretty decent stat line. It has a second line of text. When it enters the battlefield, search your library for an instant or sorcery card with the same name as a card in your graveyard. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library.
I think that first of all, I put it there mainly and hopefully to be a 4 mana 2/5 giant.
Right, which is a fair stat line.
Yeah. That's why I have a couple of wizards peppered in. That's why I have some changeling, and it's a fine stat line. Now, if you draw it late, this becomes a 4 mana 2/5 draw a removal spell, hopefully, or draw spell that you already played in the game. So then it becomes super good.
Yeah, agree. I noticed that in this skeleton you had 2 frostbites, 2 squashes. I think if you really want to leverage this card, you might want to include 1 or more duos on top of those.
It would break the skeleton rules, that's why I didn't do it, but yeah, that's something that
definitely something that you want to build towards, I think, to be able to leverage the second ability as well. Squash is a card that we talked quite a lot about, so let's quickly show it. It's a 5 mana red instant spell, 4 colorless, 1 red, and it says this spell costs 3 less to cast if you control giant. So in this deck, hopefully especially on the later turns, it'll cost you 1 colorless, 1 red, and then it deals 6 damage to target creature or planeswalker. So basically it says destroy target creature in most of the cases, right?
No, it doesn't hit the 3/7 in black.
And 11/11 something in blue, or what was it again? 12/12?
Oh yeah, no, I'm talking common level. I'm talking on the common level. Rares, that's fine. That's fine. No, but I mean, obviously, it's an insane rate when you can play it reliably for 2 mana in this deck, and also it combos with the Agar. It is a 5 mana spell for the 3rd chapter of this saga, so it has those little synergies that will make it much better. I think that Squash is going to be also good in some kind of a red-green deck that has some giants and shapeshifters.
Yeah.
But primarily will be good in this blue-red grindy giant control, I guess.
Yeah, I think it is giant control actually. I agree. I think that's how you
classic
describe
control, cheap removal, heavy top end creatures. That's as control as you have. That one card that we didn't talk about is Bind the Monster, and that may be something that because this card is probably good in this deck, but maybe it's not good in every blue deck.
No, but as we discussed yesterday, and we're repeating ourselves a bit here, which is not a bad thing because we have different viewers tonight. But yeah, Bind the Monsters, great in catching a 1-drop, a 2-drop, just to prevent some damage.
And this is the part. This is why it's put there. It's a double thing. Like the problem with the capture sphere effects was always that if you tap something big, they will always find a way to destroy it, and then you have to deal with the big thing again. Now, if you play it on small creatures, they probably won't even bother destroying it if they have to do the extra job to do it. You just tap a 2/2 and you're happy to take 2 damage from it.
Yeah, great point.
Because this one, you play for 1 mana and it taps the creature, but the creature deals damage to you. So it's actually terrible against big creature, but it's great against this quick aggro things, and you can, stop their 2/2 in their tracks, or stop their 2/2 flyer in their tracks. Or if they play like very early, they play the 3/2 flyer, you can just tap it, take 3 damage, and not have to deal with it anymore.
Yeah, agree. Well, there are 2 Craven Hulks in this deck, which already suggested there are not a lot of giants in the set. Maybe have a short look at that. See how many giants there are and what rarities they appear.
A spoiler alert: there is as many giants as in an archetype that is not supported by wizards, I think. So I looked at those data with how many creatures are there from each type, and I think that wizards assumed that shapeshifters are going to double up as giants in this archetype because blue has the shapeshifters. And it's the same with elves. There's not so many elves. That's why probably you will have to use shapeshifters as well. They're from green.
Yeah, so these are not only the giants, these are the giants and the shapeshifters. And you can see that they start at CMC 3, and in common there are very few. There's 1 at CMC 3, 2 at CMC 2, and then again 1 in every CMC up to 7. So in total there are 3, 4, 5, 6 common giant / shapeshifter cards, which is rather insane, right, for a creature type.
This doesn't scream supported archetype, to be fair.
No.
Which is weird because they put synergies in there.
Right.
And I don't know, it screams to me like the black-white in M21, was it? When they had this nice black-white life gain deck with very nice payoffs and no ways of enabling them. And it's very fragile to any kind of disruption because you have your 6 giants in the deck, they kill one of them, you don't draw the others, and then your big payoff is worthless, really.
Yeah, no, agree. I think that if you want the actual giant payoffs, like having your squash be cheaper, what other purely giant payoff was there? There are several cards that want you to show a giant, right? And there was this card but I think most of the payoffs in the deck that we just saw also work fine with wizards, for example, or with any other creature type that you have multiples of, right?
Yeah, that's true. There's some of them that, but like squash. I mean, you want to have a giant on the battlefield to make it cost 2. It's still an okay card for 5, but it's just not spectacular in any way. And anyone can play it for 5.
So I think
you're supposed to be special because you play it for 2.
So I think either you draft 3 squashes and you are actively trying to put giants in your deck, or you draft 0 squashes and you're not putting any giants in your deck, basically.
Yeah. It's just that if you don't put giants, then what do you put in the blue-red?
Right. Wizards, zombies, whatever.
Yeah,
Birds.
exactly. I mean,
birds.
And then you get incoherent, mangled mass of something. I don't even think that there is a decent aggro in this color combination, because blue 2-drops are just atrocious. So it would have to be like maybe mono red with some blue splashes for something.
Splashing for blue for some great gold cards that you picked up or something, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but your great gold cards are the
giant payoffs.
or the land that is basically like a announce it turn before Pyroclasm for 6. That's not good.
That is not good. No, agree. Did we even look at the Izzet land? Did you put it in the deck? No, you didn't.
I didn't even put it there. I think that's the one that I really don't want to play.
Okay. Like actively don't want to play, like.
Yeah, because it does very. I mean, maybe against some matchups it would be okay, but if I have it, I probably just slam it in the deck. But it just does nothing really.
Yeah,
it's like deals 2 damage. There's some scrying involved, I think. But
yeah, you're not going out of your way to have it in your deck, but if you can pick it up 6th pick, you're definitely going to include it, right? I mean.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Pyroclasm with Suspend is not a good thing, because it lets your opponent prepare for the turn when the Pyroclasm will happen. And this is exactly what it does. It's sort of like, oh, he's going to be able to Pyroclasm me in a couple of turns.
Yeah, but remember this rare land that we had? It was a colorless land, I remember, and you were able to put counters on it, and then at some point in time you could sack it and kill everything that had the same CMC as the amount of counters that you had. Well,
that's true, but I mean,
that card was pretty good, though.
But you chose the number of counters, so it could kill like a 7-drop if you played things right.
Right.
And this one just will deal 2 every single time. There is no modality on it. You just like announce exactly what I'm going to do.
Right, but I think 2 is enough to at least kill something in most board states. Yeah. Dom mentions.
Yes, I probably wouldn't look for playing it. I would probably slam it in the deck if I had it.
Yeah, you're probably going to get it because nobody's going out of its way to splash it or something. Dom mentions still affects the way they play, I suppose, which has some value. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, okay, that's a valid point.
Your opponent is
It's just that 9 other double lands that I've seen affect the way they play and the board much more than this one. So I think it's the weakest of the cycle.
Sure, you're saying it's the weakest,
makes it,
but it's still strong.
It still probably has a C+ or something.
Agree.